accountant, conservation officer, or a variety of other roles, and come work where you love to play. You can make a difference for Nebraskans and for our state's wildlife and wild places. Apply today at outdoornebraska.gov.
On the block with Strick and Austin.
Now to tie it back to Nebraska men's basketball, this group has a chance to do something that hasn't been done before.
Yeah.
In making a run in the Big Ten tournament, a serious run, and winning the first NCAA tournament game, that they're not going to get there by doing the same things they've always done. It is on this team to step up and change that narrative. It won't change on its own. Teams won't play over for you, and that's the mindset shift we haven't consistently seen yet.
Weekdays from 2 to 4 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Jake Bachman back in studio here at 93.7 The Ticket. This is the Hoops Postgame Show, and we are celebrating another Nebraska basketball victory here. Of course, it means more, just means more in the postseason, and Nebraska is now one game away from playing for a Big Ten tournament title. That's what happens when you earn a double bye in the Big Ten tournament, so it has started off very well for the Huskers, having no problem with the third time with the Indiana Hoosiers, who Nebraska has beaten again several times now, and so 3 times in a row. It can be difficult to win against anybody 3 times in a row, but it wasn't difficult for Nebraska. They looked like the better team the first 2 times they played the Hoosiers. They looked like a better team tonight. Again, I am Jake Bachman. I'm joined by Erick Strickland, a Husker Hall of Famer, a longtime NBA vet who has been in some of these postseason tournaments before, had some success with these postseason teams before. Strick, what did you think of the Huskers tonight getting a big win, maybe the best first half that we've seen from this Husker team?
Well, one of the things that I had talked about, especially on the block earlier today, is Austin and I shared some of the things that they would need to do in this game, being that this is the first time that they've experienced a double bye. You had Indiana that didn't play very well last night, but came knowing that they would probably throw off a little bit of the rust. And what Nebraska didn't want to do is get off to a bad start or give too much confidence to Indiana. But what they did was they executed, they shot well. Yes, they gave up a few extra shots, but at the end of the day, Fred Hoiberg, as you heard, as he was speaking with the crew out there in Minneapolis, he basically stated that they're standing in the moment. They're basically playing for the now. They're not looking too far ahead. And one of the focuses of this game as they came into it is not to do anything that they haven't done or to go away from the success that they've had. And you saw that tonight. They executed, they got the runs, they shot the ball well, they looked poised, they looked like they were ready for this time and this moment. And then that's the outcome, a 93-66 win.
Yeah, and this was really nice for Nebraska fans because they didn't have to necessarily, stay up late and sweat this thing. I'm sure some Husker fans went to bed at some point because the starters were pulled pretty early, and they just came out with some hot shooting. 12 first half 3-pointers. I think that was a record, if I heard correctly from the network call, for a postseason, for a Big Ten tournament, a big conference tournament in a game that they did in one half. And of course, Keisei Tamanaga, a part of that. I think a lot of people, certainly in Minneapolis, we're getting excited and ready to see what we've been talking about all this time. Nebraska, I mean, we're just getting into postseason play. If Nebraska is going to make a run, this nation might just fall in love with Keisei. If he can keep that going, my goodness, is this going to be some fun?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And listen, I'm not going to say that this is the case, but I'm going to throw it out there. This looked very similar to when we won our first Big 8 championship and the first championship of a conference in the history of the program. One of the things that we did is we had, I think it was a 93-77 or a 90-77 victory. It looks very similar to the way that we played against Oklahoma when we first started our first game. And then we had to play a very good Missouri team they're going to face a very good Illinois team. But the thing is, they come in, they should have confidence because they should have had Illinois at their own home gym. And if they played it the way that they played tonight, just execute, just don't try to do anything out of the norm and just play within themselves. They possibly can find themselves in the championship against who? Possibly Purdue. And that would remind me again of when we went to the finals and faced off against an Oklahoma State team who had a guy by the name of Big Country.
That's right.
You're going to have Zach Edey. He's one of the biggest players out there right now in the country. And so I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. It looks very similar to the way that it looked right now when we made our run.
Well, let me ask you, Strick, if they do make a run and they do, will really just grab attention tomorrow. I mean, obviously, if you could beat Purdue and win a Big Ten championship, we would, it's a different stratosphere of what we're talking about. Or really, if they get a win tomorrow against Illinois, we've kind of seen them seeding in this kind of 8, 9, 10 area. If they beat Illinois tomorrow, I'd be pretty upset if I'm the 1 seed that has to play this team in the second round. Or, I guess what I'm asking is, Can Nebraska gain more worth, do you think, at this point in the season by getting a couple wins in the Big Ten tournament to maybe raise their stock? Because they don't look necessarily like a 10 seed to me, for sure.
There's no question about it. I mean, I think with a win tomorrow, you could look at maybe a 5. You're still probably going to be looking at the same thing. You could be looking at a 5, 6 seed with that because, listen, they've won 7 out of their last 8 games. And one of the things that the committees look at is they look at how the teams are playing, not just necessarily through the body of work, which they've done. They've got enough of their quad wins. They've done enough. Now they've got a win coming out of a quarterfinal, going into the semis. They put themselves in a great position. I think if they find themselves in the finals, make a good showing. You're looking at 8 out of their last 9 games, have a good showing in the finals with whoever it may be, Wisconsin, whom they beat, as well as Purdue, whom they've won 2 out of their last 3 against. So, hey, listen, you put yourself in that position. You could be looking at a 5 seed possibly, just like that.
Yeah. There's still much to do for Nebraska. Let me ask you this, though, because this was the 3rd time they played Indiana. On January 3rd, they beat them 86-70. Then they went to Bloomington and beat them 85-70. And then tonight, 93-66. We say it's hard to beat a team twice in football. It's hard to beat a team 3 times in a row in basketball. But it looked like there might be a chance that there's just a bit of a mismatch here. And that's not necessarily, the athletes or anything like that, because Indiana's got some players. But this is kind of the old, the 3-point line against your traditional front court that can grind it out and get some points in there. But they just couldn't keep up with Nebraska any of these 3 times where Nebraska, again, scoring 85 and above.
Well, shout out to Bryce Williams, who got the party started. He came out hot as a butt. He hit 8 out of the first 10 points for the Huskers tonight. Got the thing rolling. And what was cool about it was just so much poise. It wasn't forced. He took the shots that were given to them. They set screens like you remember, if we just go back to the beginning of the season, the early part of the season, it was a lot of run bys, they were squatting, standing, setting good body screens and allowing themselves to turn corners, and they were finding guys, they were making the right plays. And one of the things that I talked about on the block was you obviously had to think about Khalil Ware. Khalil Ware, his blocking prowess. They got Renew in foul trouble. What they ended up doing is they didn't challenge Khalil Ware tonight. They drove the ball, they got up into the air, and then they found those next opportunities to find guys on the wings, and there they were able to knock down shots tonight once again.
Well, and it's funny you mentioned Khalil Ware. This is just kind of a side note and something I thought about because, again, in the broadcast, they were talking about maybe, for Indiana, this was not a good look to the end of their season. They were winning some games, but Mike Woodson ended up getting kicked out of the game for 2 technicals. Obviously, the game just got out of hand. For Khalil Ware, and maybe you've just seen him in the Nebraska games, I don't know how much you've been watching him. They said maybe, a jump to the NBA. He looks like he's got the tools, but not, they haven't been sharpened or ironed quite so much. Do you think it would be a good idea for that particular big man to go pro? He's a sophomore this year. Or do you think maybe another year coming back or, God forbid for Indiana fans looking somewhere to get his game better?
I think he probably needs another year. And one of the things he's going to have to show is his ability to stretch. For example, a Derek Lively who has the ability to stretch the floor out of Duke. You want to be able to showcase that. Now, we know that he has the ability to step out and he can knock down shots at times, but he wants to be able to show a consistency. He wants to be able to be a dominant factor to raise the level for him to possibly find or land himself into a lottery pick. If he comes out now, he's probably not going to be a lottery pick. He's going to be a project. He probably go in the second round because he's probably not there. They're going to want to have him in a two-way contract, maybe get him some G League time, similar to what Trace Jackson Davis. Now, look, Trace Jackson Davis, in all of his glory as a player there at Iowa, still in himself wasn't a top pick, and he's just now finding himself there at the Golden State Warriors. So I think Khalil would do himself a service to stay one more year, to be a more of a dominant factor. Zach Edey and some of the bigs, the Amores and some of the bigs of the Big Ten will leave, and you just want to be a dominant factor in the Big Ten, and you could possibly find yourself as a lottery.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking, the same thing for him. So I thought that was just kind of interesting. Indiana, by the way, didn't play without Galloway, one of the better outside, perimeter defenders, I should say. Also, I guess you could call him one of your better three-point shooters. He has the second most three-point shots made on the team, but he shoots 26% from beyond the arc. So, you kind of do what you want with that. But that was kind of the story of this thing to me for them. And that was so important for Nebraska to get out and kind of get the mental edge. To me, too, was if they're going to be hitting threes, Indiana knows. I mean, they've been playing games all year long where if they get outshot from beyond the arc, they're going to be in trouble. That was also just part of that story of that first half, was the mental edge Nebraska was getting. Obviously, it's great on the scoreboard, but Indiana just kind of felt like they were sinking. And then the other thing is how frustrating it is. You could see it on Xavier Johnson when you do everything you can and Casey still gets it by you and swish. There it goes. More points.
There's no question about it. And one of the areas in which this team, Indiana, was probably trying to establish themselves is definitely at the rebounding area, in which they lost. That's a scary thing for Nebraska, when Nebraska is winning the rebound battle and they win it by 3 against a team that one of the areas that they have an advantage against you was size across the board, and they weren't able to do that. So that's a shout out to them. And one of the things you saw is in the past, you didn't see Tamanaga sticking his neck in there to get some of those long rebounds. He was able to secure a few of them. You saw them putting bodies on people. That was one of the things that they had trouble with. But here are some of the numbers that you would like. And if you can continue to see this out of Nebraska, and that is their assist numbers is in the 20 range, and their turnover numbers is only 11. If you continue to see that type of ratio with this Nebraska team, they're going to be very, very dangerous. And we always talk about the differentials. The differentials worked in their favor, shot double the free throws, made almost 80% of those, didn't shoot well in the second half from 3, but they didn't need to because their percentages was still hovering about 50% total, shot the ball well from 3 total, which ended up being in the half, they shot 16%, but ended up still shooting 44% from 3. That's if Nebraska's shooting like that, they're playing like that, they're executing like that, and defending like that. They're very dangerous. And anybody that would want to see them or come up against them will have to be worried because, again, it didn't come from everybody. Now, the one consistent thing, Bach, is Bryce had played well against Indiana and Tamanaga. So that was the one thing that carried over from the 2 previous games, is the 2 people that have hurt Indiana were the 2 people that hurt Indiana tonight. And then you add in the fact that you had others step up, to include Juwan Gary, who played solidly. You didn't have a big night from Rick Mass, but what you did have from Rick Mass is 7 assists and then still 8 rebounds. So that's phenomenal because his assist to turnover ratio is better than most doggone point guards. And when you're getting that out of your center, good things are always going to happen.
Yeah, and it was another night, too, off the bench for Jamarcus Lawrence, who had 15 points off the bench, 3 of 4 from beyond the arc, and 5 of 6 from the free throw line. So he's kind of the big spark for Nebraska.
What a time to heat up. It's a perfect time for Jamarcus Lawrence. He's struggled all year, and tonight he comes in with great confidence and he heats up. That's the danger of them, because it could have been. We were talking about it on the block earlier. Who's going to be the third person? Who's going to be that other person that's going to shine? Is it going to be Wilcher? Is it going to be Gary? But then it ends up being Jamarcus Lawrence, probably from an unexpected area. And this is the danger of them, because guess what? Tomorrow it may be someone else. And that's what's scary about Nebraska. And we talked about that all year.
Yeah, it's really cool to kind of see all this stuff come into fruition, because we've had this show all year long, and it's kind of, well, here we are at this part of the season, but what does it mean for what's coming up next? And obviously now you're just in tournament play. Obviously you're fighting for your championship life here. Nebraska, thankfully, not fighting for their postseason life, not fighting for their life overall. And that's kind of what you saw from Indiana tonight is, and it can be a frustrating time. We've seen Iowa probably have their season end. Ohio State, probably the game before Nebraska. Their season probably coming to an end. More and more teams are just not going to accept NIT bids. But we'll kind of have to see, because at that point, it's kind of like bowl games. You're, some of those guys are going to be starting to look forward and maybe sitting out, and then you're going to have to be looking forward as well. So I'm interested in the future of the NIT, but luckily I don't have to care too much about it, and particularly this year, because Nebraska looks like they're going to the NCAA tournament, almost obviously a lock now. And here we are in the Big Ten tournament with a chance at history, maybe to win a second conference tournament title. All right, let's go ahead and take a quick break here on the Hoops Postgame show on 93.7 The Ticket with Erick Strickland and myself, Jake Bakoven. We'll be right back after this break and break more down for Nebraska's 93-66 win over historical Blue Blood, Candy Straight Pants, Indiana, 93-66. We'll be back after this.
On the Block with Strick and Austin.
Now, to tie it back to Nebraska men's basketball, this group has a chance to do something that hasn't been done before.
Yeah.
In making a run in the Big Ten tournament, a serious run, and winning the first NCAA tournament game, but they're not going to get there by doing the same things they've always done. It is on this team to step up and change that narrative. It won't change on its own. Teams won't lay over for you, and that's the mindset shift we haven't consistently seen yet.
Weekdays from 2 to 4 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
If you're in Seward or Milford, listen up. Select Plumbing is now servicing your area with no trip charges from Lincoln. Select Plumbing works on a variety of issues for your home and business, including general plumbing, water heaters, faucet and fixture repair, underground sewer and water repairs, backflow testing, and more. Keep your property free from leaks and other issues. Call today for a free estimate, 402-560-6197. It's not just Lincoln, Waverly, and the surrounding area anymore. It's also Seward and Milford with no trip charges. Contact Select Plumbing to inquire, 402-560-6197.
Spring often marks the beginning of severe weather, which can lead to power outages. LES wants you to be prepared before the storm. Restock your emergency kit, update your info with LES, and if you encounter an outage, report it at les.com/report.
It's Chad, the Nutrition Authority, inviting you to stop in and check out the all-new complete post-workout recovery CPR. CPR is ideal for anyone who works out or competes and wants to maximize results. CPR can only be found at Nutrition Authority. Stop in today and try a free sample, or visit us at mynutritionauthority.com.
Whether you're just starting your journey together or celebrating years of cherished memories, there's no better way to mark your love story than with fine jewelry. Join us at the Wedding Band Expo this weekend at Sartor Heyman Jewelers in South Point Pavilion. Enjoy an incredible 20% off all wedding and anniversary bands. Don't miss out on this opportunity to find the ring of your dreams at a price you'll adore. Sartor Heyman Jewelers Wedding Band Expo this weekend at South Point Pavilion.
Garage doors can be expensive. Are you keeping yours in the best condition possible? This is Cameron Hall with Doors Plus. Doors Plus is a locally owned business that prides itself on the fast, reliable, and friendly service. Doors Plus offers flexible scheduling so you can book an appointment that fits your busy day. My team and I will come out to your property, both commercial and residential, and provide you with the necessary information you need to make sure your garage door is in working and smooth condition. Give Doors Plus a call today at 402-590-5800 to book an appointment and learn more about our preventative maintenance plans. Doors Plus, garage doors, and more.
Hi everyone, Tim and Warnock, A1 Automotive in downtown Lincoln. The last few years have been wild, but we've been here for you through all ups and downs, and we'll be here for you when you need us the most. For all your travels and for your day-to-day driving. With winter conditions causing problems all over town, the last thing anyone needs this year is constant car trouble. Let us help you drive in peace and make sure you drive to work and to winter destinations safely. A1 Automotive, 11th and L Street downtown. Always.
Action Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric brings exciting career opportunities for you or someone you know. They are now hiring plumbers, electricians, and HVAC techs and installers to continue to build their professionals. They offer competitive pay and full benefits packages that include health, dental, vision, PTO, and 401k options. Action has created a positive team environment for over 50 years. Apply online at actionlincoln.com.
We are back here on the Hoops Postgame Show on 93.7 The Ticket. I am Jake Bachman alongside Erick Strickland, the Husker Hall of Famer, longtime NBA vet, and we are celebrating because Nebraska, with just one win, is already making history in the Big Ten tournament with that victory already over their opponents tonight. Let's look at some of the first I see from Ben Stevens tweeting this out. The first ever appearance in the Big Ten tournament semifinal coming up tomorrow, 2:30 CBS. So get ready for the country to watch it. First appearance in a conference tourney semifinal since 2006. So if my memory or timeline serves correctly, maybe Alex Marsh type of days. So it's been a while for that too. I'd have to go back and look at that 06 squad. First Big Ten tournament win since 2019. First 23-plus win season since 1991. And, of course, the first NCAA tournament appearance since 2014. Now, we kind of can turn our attention, of course, as this thing goes, as tournaments go pretty quickly, onto tomorrow's action against Illinois. Nebraska played Illinois early on the season in Champaign. At the time, Illinois was ranked 14th in the nation, and Nebraska went in with a 16-6 record, coming off an overtime win against Wisconsin at home. Nebraska was not able to get the victory on the road at Illinois, but there was a pretty close calls there in regulation at the end of overtime as well. Nebraska would fall 87-84 despite 31 from Keisei Tamanaga. Illinois had a fight with Ohio State earlier this year, or earlier tonight as well. Jamison Battle of Ohio State had two looks to maybe tie that up. Didn't get that done. As we look at Illinois, as we turn our attention to Illinois, Strick, what do you kind of think about tomorrow's matchup? Again, national audience, maybe to get some K-State fever like Nebraskans have, 2:30 on CBS.
I mean, obviously, it's going to be a good matchup, and one of the things that Fred talked about in the press game, I mean, in the press conference that he's speaking on in right now, is he talked about the fact that it's tough. The position that they're in is tough to play this late game and then to have to turn around and play at 2:30 on tomorrow. Illinois, just right before them, they've got a few hours extra, like three hours or so extra on them of rest, but he's going to allow them to rest and come back. But that's the beautiful thing about these double buys. They should have still pretty good legs. They were able to handle business and blow the team out so that they can go sit down. That's rest. That's rest time. You don't have to play a full out game and exert all of your energy. You were able to allow those young guys, Cale Jacobson and some of the other guys, Matar Joe, and you allow them to be able to get in, get a little fresh run and get some legs. And so that's the good thing about blowing a team out, is it allows you to be able to just kind of just relax your mind and get ready and prepare yourself for the next one, enjoy the moment, and ultimately go back, get some rest, and come back and do it once again against the team that you had on the ropes. Now you still get a chance to redeem yourself. Go out and get it.
Well, it's kind of interesting, too. Obviously, Nebraska played well tonight. We mentioned some of the stars, and then you have to also give credit for winning that rebounding battle, too, to some of the bigs in Mass and Alec, obviously. As we look back at that Illinois game, again, earlier in the season when Nebraska lost in Champaign, Nebraska lost the rebounding battle 50-33. They lost as far as points in the paint, 40-26. Illinois' got some guys too, Coleman Hawkins, Terrence Shannon, that you worry about from the outside and that can, 3-level types, scorer types. What are you more concerned with? I guess those two guys are kind of the bigs going up against Illinois tomorrow night.
Well, Hawkins was really the one that hurt them. He just made a lot of big shots. Again, I like Nebraska on neutral floors. They played very well on neutral floors. I'm okay with them playing on neutral floors. They have a good calmness about them. One of the things that they're going to have to just continue to do, as you said, is rebound, and on top of that, continue to play good defense with rotation. They were very crisp tonight, Bach. That everything that they did, especially on the defensive end, they were reading, they were responding and reacting, not after the fact, but before. They were seeing things happen before they happened. And so what a lot of teams try to do against that Nebraska force baseline with help is to throw cross-court passes. That weak side defender was reading that. The on-ball defender was close and was forcing them to make just a little bit of a looping pass, which allowed that weak side defender in a couple of cases, Casey and also Bryce in a couple of instances, to be able to get in front of that weak side cross-court pass and to get an interception or two. And they were just very crisp in their rotations. They were very crisp in their helps and their recovers. And you've got to love that. If they continue that, they're very dangerous because they play great defense.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught in excited about all the threes that were especially falling tonight in the first half. Again, 12 first half made threes. But that defense is the staple, and that's what's exciting about this team. Of course, it's they've kind of changed that from the first few years under Hoiberg and made it really an emphasis on defense. And now you're kind of seeing a mix of both philosophies where, you can take a big take a lot of shots and we can have fun on offense, but we're going to earn it on defense. And what's interesting about Nebraska too in this run, I'd have to look because I don't have the schedule pulled in front of me, but I can count it out, is that there a lot of these games too, like it's one thing to be like sliding by and really, but a lot of these games are blowouts. Nebraska has been able to find a way to really get a bigger lead and keep that lead. What have you seen about Nebraska and what are kind of the difficulties of that? Even like you look at tonight where you have to come out the second half, you're up 17. Sometimes it can be easy to let them get back into it, cut it to 8 or something. Didn't happen tonight.
Well, what Nebraska has done, Bach, and again, it's one of the things that we talked about earlier on the block is Nebraska is like AI. What they've done is like AI. It continuously and is always listening and learning. And that's what they've done throughout the year. And you can see the progression of that. What you're seeing is the finalization of graduating in the school of a season. And it's at the end of the season. They've learned lessons from when they had played in Minnesota. They even learned lessons from when they was there in Indiana, how they were up 20 plus points. And then Indiana allowed Indiana to get back in it ultimately to finish them off and win the game. But, the conversation is, you remember what happened in Bloomington. You remember. And they remembered. And you saw that in the execution. You saw that in the crisp of the backdoor cuts. You saw that in the curls to the basket with Juwan Gary finishing. You saw that with the crisp passes on time and on target for layups to Jamarcus Lawrence for finish. You saw that in the second half. That's all part of the learning process that they learned throughout the year. That's how to finish off games. When teams make runs, what do you do to squelch the run? You execute, you take care of the ball, you finish off possessions, you push until opportunities present themselves, and you take good shots. If you do that, we'll win games.
Well, and again, as I was counting up too, it is 7 out of 8 as far as wins. It's 7 out of 8 as far as double-digit margin of victory as well. So, I mean, we talk about a team that's really hot right now. Nebraska nationally is that team, and you could argue maybe they're beating up some of the lower half of the Big Ten, but how good does that feel for Nebraska to look down on the lower half of the Big Ten and start making excuses as to why they're beating people up so bad? In Indiana, again, that's a team with a few guys I think they're going to play in the league at some point, or at least get a pretty good shot to. And Nebraska, really didn't play with their food, I guess is the way that I would put it tonight.
Good point.
Just put them away. And so that was very exciting. I'm kind of wanted to revert back to something I asked you early in the season, because I think the answer can change. Do you think at this point there's a different best player on the team than maybe I think I asked you weeks ago, and Rienk Mast was really hot at the time. I believe you might have said Rienk Mast. You could jog my memory. But in any case, if I asked you who's the best player on the team now, what would you say?
Well, again, when I speak about Rienk Mast, I speak of him like in the building of a house, right? Or in the building of a building or some type of foundation. When you lay it, you want a solid cornerstone. Rienk Mast is a cornerstone for this program in the building of this program because of what he's able to do. Look, we know that this matchup is not favorable for Rienk Mast. It's going to be probably a high assist night because whenever Alec is out, one of the things that they did, they put, which I didn't think they would, but they put Ware on Rienk Mast. And this was good because Rienk didn't force anything. He's like, I'm drawing Khalil Ware, I'm pulling him away from the basket, and I'm allowing my guys to cut because of the danger of my ability to shoot. And he did that. And he basically laid on the sword. He sacrificed himself for the greater good of the team. That's what the cornerstone did. It is the solid foundation that he creates for this team. Now, you can say there really isn't a best player on the team, but you can say probably Keisei Tamanaga is the most dangerous outside of next being Bryce Williams. And so that's what played true to form today. If Nebraska has that true to form blueprint, Bryce consistency, Keisei consistency, add one more. It doesn't matter who it is. One night Wilcher, one night Gary, one night Jamarcus Lawrence, one night Rienk Mast, whoever it is, you get consistency from Bryce and Tamanaga, whether it be from the free throw line, whether it be from drawing fouls, whether it be from shooting mid-range or creating opportunities for others, then you still got something. You've got magic.
Well, and I did want to ask you too, because you mentioned it briefly earlier about Hoiberg mentioning the tough kind of turnaround. As a player, how do you feel about that? Because there are times when you're playing in AAU ball and you've got all these different games back to back. Is that easier the younger you are, or do you think that because there also was the question coming into this game, like a double bye, yeah, that's good, but at least the other team, Indiana, comes into this game, they're not thinking about their depth perception or trying to figure it out for the first couple of minutes. Didn't end up hurting Nebraska. But do you think that it really is quite a disadvantage to have to get this quick turnaround, or do you think from a player's mindset, they're just going to be excited to play?
Well, again, Fred Hoiberg as a coach and as their whole staff, they're doing a great job of messaging. The messaging is stay in the moment. Don't get too high. Don't get too low. Stay in the moment. Do what we've prepared for. You're ready for this moment. Yes, the lights are going to be brighter in this moment, but at the end of the day, we've prepared you for it. The best thing that Nebraska could have done in this moment is to get the double bye. Gives them extra time. Now, the rust is off. The rust is way off. I mean, it didn't seem like they had any rust, but they've got a lot of legs. You only have to play 3 games, baby. That's all. If you can't lay it out on the line for 3 games, now I can understand if you had 5 games and by game 4, I can understand if you don't have a deep bench and legs is going to be weary. But at this point, 3 games, just go home, get some sleep. These guys are young. They should be able to come right back and give you another roll at it. Now, it may not be a 93-point game, but they should be able to run it out for 3 games, no doubt, especially after the rest that they got coming into the tournament.
Yeah, they did. They got that bye week too. So that was going to wrap it up here for the Hoops Post Game Show on 93.7 The Ticket. We'll be back tomorrow after the game against Illinois. It is the semifinals for the chance to play for the Big Ten title on Sunday. Very exciting times in Nebraska basketball. Once again, they get the win tonight over Indiana from a big first half, 12 points. We kind of got a little bit of Keisei Tamanaga Mania going, and hopefully that carries over as well. 93-66 victory over Indiana. Once again, Nebraska will tip off with Illinois on CBS tomorrow at 2 o'clock, and we will be here immediately after, hopefully celebrating another win and looking forward to a Selection Sunday with the Huskers playing on it. We will go ahead and send it off to national coverage for the rest of the evening here on 93.7 The Ticket. For Erick Strickland, thank you, Eric. And for myself, Jake Bachman, we'll see you. And we'll see you tomorrow. Go Big Red.
Action Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric brings exciting career opportunities for you or someone you know. They are now hiring plumbers, electricians, and HVAC techs and installers to continually build their professional team. They offer competitive pay and full benefits packages that include health, dental, vision, PTO, and 401k options. Action has created a positive team environment for over 50 years. Apply online at actionlincoln.com.
I could write a commercial telling you how great waffle weekends are at the chocolate season. Or I could just have Rico read you the menu.
Banana Nutella.